Welcome to Combat Empire, your home for the biggest stories, wildest moments, and most intense breakdowns in UFC, MMA, and boxing. If you enjoy fight news, predictions, drama, and breakdowns like this, make sure to subscribe and help the channel keep growing. Every single subscribe helps us bring you even bigger combat sports content every week. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy the video, because things are about to get violent inside the fight world.
You're fighting Conor McGregor taking on Max Holloway. How do you feel about that fight? Especially with Conor McGregor coming back, right? He's coming back into fighting. Once again, I feel he said that he needs it. He loves it, the sport of competition, right? What's your thoughts on that fight where he's fighting Max Holloway? Max has been in the paint. He's been grinding. He's been fighting his ass off. Give me your thoughts, Patty.
I've said Conor. I think Conor's going to win. And it's because it's at welterweight. If it was at a lightweight, I would have picked Max. But Max got made to look small by Charles at lightweight. So imagine how much bigger Conor's going to be than him at welterweight. And getting it by a welterweight is much different than getting it by a lightweight.
Stuff he's saying is about what he's going to do in the cage. He says he's going to sun you. He says he's going to go right through you. He's not looking past you. He's looking through you.
He got to say what he got to say, right? Whatever gets him to the octagon Saturday night, he can keep telling him that, you keep telling yourself that, just please show up come Saturday night, and that's it, Conor got the gift of gab. He loved talking. Maybe he's talking to get himself ready, and I support it 100%. Max Best Holloway, support this message. Keep talking what you got to talk, and I'm glad. I can't wait to see you come Saturday night here in Las Vegas. I can't wait, man. I can't wait to see. A lot of people keep counting Conor out, which is insane to me. You know what I mean? Look, they was counting Conor out because of the 5 years, and they're like, oh yeah, but the 5 years he got to rest. In my mind, and people is like, no, but you see him partying, you see him doing all this, bro. People are not following around him 24/7, with a camera. So you really don't know what he's doing. Just because they're putting out the bad stuff of him, we don't know about the good stuff, And I know this just because every time in camp when I'm playing video games for 2 hours out of the day, everybody's like, you gotta be training after all my training. So at the end of the day, I'm getting ready for a dangerous Conor McGregor. I think it's gonna be a healthy Conor McGregor. I think it's gonna be the best version we ever saw. And that's the things that excite me. That excites me. The best Conor McGregor I get to see come July 11th. And when I go out there and do the things that I know I can and will do to him, it's going to be a great night.
Well, the thing is about Max Holloway is Max Holloway isn't that much younger than Conor.
He's not.
But the thing is, Max has been in constant high-level competition the entire time. Won the BMF fight, beat Dustin, constant high-level competition.
That's right.
It's a different thing.
And I honestly believe him at 155 is the best thing for him.
Absolutely.
But he's not 155 in this fight.
This is 170.
But
yeah.
Honestly, he might be
No
better.
way.
Max is a durable fighter with great skill. Not on my level, however. I am a level above, in fact, multiple levels above.
How so?
Skill-wise, mental-wise, physical-wise. We're at 170 pounds. There's a few facets into this. Max has been a busy body in the game. In fact, he's the most time spent inside the octagon, 8.5 hours, which is a staggering amount of time. For me, I kind of look at that saying, it means you can't finish people, So, however, he's never fought at 170 pounds. This is a 170-pound bout.
And you believe that your level's above him, but what's something that you're watching out for? What is one of Max's strengths?
If you're asking me what I have above him, speed, power, IQ, fitness, health, freshness.
Conor, that's damn near everything.
What is your guys' pick for that, realistically, Holloway, McGregor?
Oh, dude,
And don't pick with emotion. I'm talking MMA math.
Dude, 170 pounds. You haven't fought in half a decade. If the fight was 3 rounds, I would think, God, Conor's got a good chance. He may still have a good chance, but you're half a decade sitting out, and then you're going in there, Max Holloway, who's an expert at fighting 5 rounds, and he's 170 pounds. You're not going to knock him out easy.
Yeah, I'm watching you hit pads, right? I remember after you fought Donald Cerrone, Dana White came in the back room and said, I'm never questioning you at welterweight again. I'd argue you're more of a real welterweight now than you even were then. You look to have really filled out. You are hitting harder than I've ever seen you hit. Are you feeling?
I feel absolutely amazing. Exceptional. No corners cut, no flash or... We've been quiet this camp. We've been at work. So that's confidence. There's a lack of confidence if you need to share things or get this ego boost. We don't need it. We're gonna do it on the night. So I'm excited for it. I'm excited for my team and for my country.
What do you think Max doesn't understand about fighting at 170? What is he not realizing until he gets in there and actually tries it?
Listen, there's a different thud when you fight against him. I fought a match against Max many years ago. I look forward to my improvements on it.
You said multiple times during your media tour in New York that rematches is like an honourable thing to grant. When they came to you with Max's name, I know there was others, but when Max came to you, were you like, yeah, no, I want to prove that rematches should be given if they're earned?
I love a rematch. I love who doesn't love the story builds, the tension builds, the fans get excited, they've got comparisons, they've got, it's great for business. I'm all for a good rematch. And yeah, there you go. Max's name was supposed to hold us. I'm happy they did. Could have been anyone, as well.
I remember when I first started watching you, before I was even working with you in the MMA, there was a time you did a media scrum and you were rattling off stats and reaches and things like that. And then I heard you in New York talking about minutes that Max has been in there and how long he's been in there. And I realized, it's still there, the passion and the attention that you
Danger will be everywhere inside the octagon from Max. So we are well aware of him in this gym, in this camp. That's it.
Do you think he's improved since that fight?
I don't care.
Okay, fair enough. You have, of course, people usually say when you're away, maybe the attention disappears, but you've actually already set records again. I think it's going to be the highest gate. I don't know if you saw, you are already the highest valued trading card in MMA. You beat Ilia Toporia's record. I don't know if you knew that. But you've basically come back, and is it fun at least, or do you still feel anything when you see these metrics and realize still the bread?
It's a lot of fun. It's more fun. It's for the fun more than for anything else. Yeah. So all of these little sweet cherries on top are beautiful.
More fuel has just been added to the fire. More than a decade has passed since Conor McGregor and Max Holloway first shared the octagon. Yet the history between them has never truly disappeared. The sport has changed beyond recognition. Divisions have evolved, champions have risen and fallen, and both men have lived completely different careers since that night in 2013. Max Holloway transformed himself from a young prospect into one of the most respected and battle-tested fighters in UFC history. A former champion, a relentless volume striker, and perhaps one of the closest things mixed martial arts has ever seen to an Iron Man. Conor McGregor took another path entirely. He became the biggest superstar the sport had ever produced, captured championships in multiple divisions, changed the financial landscape of the UFC, and then disappeared from competition through injuries, setbacks, controversies, and years of uncertainty. Now, just as Holloway continues cementing his reputation as one of the toughest fighters of his generation, McGregor has reappeared like a ghost from the past. And he's bringing warnings with him: cryptic messages, training footage, psychological attacks, and the same unmistakable confidence that once made every McGregor fight feel bigger than the sport itself. The question is whether this is simply classic Conor McGregor psychological warfare, or whether something far more dangerous is developing behind closed doors. Because McGregor has always understood one fundamental truth about combat sports: everything worth having exists on the opposite side of discomfort: pain, fear, exhaustion, pressure. The Irishman has never hidden from the brutality of the fight game. If anything, he has always appeared strangely attracted to it. And now he's returning from the kind of catastrophic injury that can permanently change an athlete.
Joe, it's great to be back. It's refreshing to be back. The body is invigorated. The mind is sharp and fresh and ready to go. I'm ready to enter this brutal business as a ruthless fighter once again. And I'm very, very excited and happy.
A broken leg doesn't simply damage bone. It changes movement, confidence, timing, and the willingness to fully commit when another fighter is standing directly in front of you. For an ordinary person, recovery alone would be considered a victory. For McGregor, recovery was never enough. He wants the cage again. The pressure, the violence.
I've done it and I've experienced it. I've experienced the difference in camp, the difference in carrying the weight, the difference in the opponent being able to absorb the damage. And I'm excited to welcome young Max again.
The moment when the door closes and every excuse disappears. And according to the message he's sending, he isn't returning simply to participate. He believes there is still history left to make. Something unprecedented. Something capable of completely rewriting how the final chapter of his career is remembered.
Now, I've been out for a few years. Let the people say what they wish, whether it is good or bad. I don't pay attention to it. I don't let it enter me. I stay centered and grounded, and that's where I'm at. I'm back. I knew I was going to come back. I learned a lesson in that lapse in concentration in the camp in preparation that I have since adjusted. And, you know, that's why I think I'm only warming up here in this game. I really...
That's what makes his recent words toward Holloway so interesting. The confidence isn't subtle, it isn't respectful, and it certainly isn't cautious. McGregor is speaking to Holloway as though the man standing across from him isn't one of the most accomplished fighters in the world, but an unruly child who needs to be reminded of his place. He's not simply predicting victory, he's presenting domination as inevitable.
Conor McGregor versus Max Holloway. Who are you picking this early out?
I mean, I'm going to pick Max, I think. I'm going to stick to that. However, there's a small part of me, obviously, that would love to see the world where Conor wins, but it's even tough to say that too, because I have nothing but love for Max Holloway.
According to McGregor's rhetoric, Holloway's striking doesn't concern him. The combinations don't concern him. The volume doesn't concern him. Even the legendary durability that has carried Max through countless wars appears irrelevant in Conor's mind. McGregor has gone as far as suggesting he'll leave the cage untouched, without damage, without concern.
Brilliant highs, celebrated by many, had some very public lows, headlines that might even make you cringe a little bit, and even your fans. What have you learned through the lows about yourself?
You know, fame has its pitfalls. You better move carefully in this world, for sure, probably even more so now. I've taken a lot of lessons in my life, and, you know, it's just about self-discovery, studying yourself, learning triggers. You know, I find myself even now still in a fight with an old version of me or old ways that don't serve me, and, you know, new ways and a new version of me, the new me. So I still find myself in this balance. Right now,
that's both as a fighter and a man.
As a fighter, and I'm more a man, more as a human.
Without even allowing Holloway to turn the fight into the kind of prolonged battle where he normally thrives. And that may be the real objective behind the message. This isn't just trash talk, it's psychological positioning. McGregor wants Holloway thinking about the first fight, thinking about the power difference, thinking about whether the man returning after all these years still possesses the same timing that once made him almost impossible to read. He wants to transform a competitive fight into a mental contest before either man even puts on the gloves. Because if Holloway enters emotionally...
McGregor or Max Holloway at UFC 329, July 11th?
Holloway.
Really?
It's going to be dangerous for Max early, though. Listen, me and Conor aren't exactly friendly, but what I'm saying is, so I'm not saying this from a perspective of we're friends and we're buddies. He was the 2 weight division champion. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, he made all this money and all the rest of it. The mind's the most powerful tool.
Yeah.
And the guy that was there, all right, granted, it was a long time ago, 2016, but if the motivation's strong enough, he can come back and look really good. And yeah, he was flipping out at Max the other day in that interview.
Did you see that?
But he was playing the game. He was promoting the fight, hyping it up big time, and he looks good, you know, like he looks like he's training and taking the camp seriously. And if he is doing that, I'm telling you.
But I think
Max is awesome on the feet, but Conor's got the power.
If he feels disrespected, if he abandons patience and begins chasing exchanges, McGregor may believe the first major mistake will arrive before Max ever settles into his rhythm. But according to Conor, the psychological warfare is backed by something far more tangible, a physical advantage. McGregor believes the mathematics of this matchup have changed. He knows exactly what it feels like to carry additional mass through training camps. He understands how body weight changes endurance, how strength changes clinch exchanges, and perhaps most importantly, how naturally larger fighters absorb damage differently. At featherweight, Holloway built a career around surviving shots that would have broken almost anyone else. But McGregor believes the equation changes when the opponent standing across from him is naturally heavier, stronger, and capable of delivering power without draining himself through an extreme weight cut. From Conor's perspective, shots at one-stop featherweights may carry an entirely different consequence at 170 pounds, and he appears convinced that Holloway is underestimating exactly what that means.
It's the first time that Max is going up to 170. Max is not a true welterweight, but Conor is. He's done this before. And I don't want to kill a headline, but you're chasing your tail. What are you talking about? 155 to 170, 145 to 155, 135 from 125. It's the same thing. If you're 155 pounds and you're fighting a guy that's 170 pounds, you weigh the same thing.
The imagery McGregor uses is almost predatory. He isn't chasing Max, he's waiting for him, standing at the shoreline, inviting him forward, offering to welcome the younger version of Holloway back into a world McGregor believes still belongs to him. It's condescending by design and unmistakably calculated, but the physical transformation is only one part of the story. McGregor insists something deeper has changed: focus. For years, critics have questioned whether the former champion could ever completely dedicate himself to fighting again. The money had already been made, the championships had already been won, the global fame had already arrived. What motivation could possibly remain? McGregor's answer appears to be simple: the noise no longer matters. According to the message coming from his camp, he's tuning out public criticism, ignoring predictions, ignoring the betting lines, ignoring the people who believe the sport has moved beyond him. He presents himself as centered, grounded, and completely committed to the task directly in front of him. The warning to Holloway is that the fighter returning to the octagon won't be the vulnerable version critics expect, not the distracted celebrity, not the injured former champion, not the aging superstar chasing one final payday. McGregor wants Max to believe something else entirely, that the armor has been repaired, that the weaknesses have been studied, and that behind closed doors, a dangerous version of the notorious has been rebuilding himself in silence. Still, many of the sport's most experienced voices aren't buying it. Michael Bisping and Paul Felder have already begun taking sides, and the support appears to be moving toward Holloway. The argument is easy to understand. Max has remained active. He's continued fighting elite competition, he's stayed sharp, he's evolved, and he's repeatedly demonstrated that his pace, durability, and ability to thrive under pressure remain among the best in the sport. Some veterans have even openly admitted they wouldn't mind watching Holloway completely overwhelm McGregor. To Conor, that kind of disrespect may be exactly what fuels him, because the entire MMA world appears to be staring at the same facts: years of inactivity, a devastating injury, an aging fighter, a dangerous opponent, and one of the most difficult 5-round comeback assignments imaginable. The betting markets see it, the analysts see it, the former fighters see it. McGregor is being written off, but from his perspective, that may be precisely where the trap begins. Throughout his career, Conor has always been most dangerous when people believed they understood exactly what was coming. Jose Aldo was supposed to overwhelm him. Eddie Alvarez was supposed to expose him. The pressure was supposed to break him. And time after time, McGregor built his greatest moments around the certainty of people who believed he couldn't do what he was promising. Now history may be repeating itself, except this time, the opponent isn't the only thing standing across from him. McGregor is also fighting the ghost of his own past. And perhaps for the first time, he isn't pretending those years never happened. He isn't simply brushing away the lowest moments, the controversies, the destructive habits, the public mistakes. Instead, McGregor has described something far more personal: a silent war, a daily confrontation between the man he once became and the man he's now trying to build. According to his own reflection, the greatest battle of this comeback isn't happening inside the gym. It happens every morning, every decision, every moment where old habits collide with new discipline, every time the destructive version of himself attempts to return, and the new version has to choose differently. For McGregor, that internal conflict may ultimately determine everything, because beating Max Holloway requires more than power, more than confidence, more than psychological warfare. It requires proving that the transformation he's describing is real. And as the fight draws closer, more voices are beginning to question whether that new version of Conor McGregor truly exists. And according to McGregor, that version is real. By learning to confront and defeat the old version of himself, Conor believes he has unlocked something far more dangerous than the reckless superstar the world remembers: discipline, control, self-awareness, and perhaps most importantly, a reason to fight that no longer depends entirely on money, fame, or external validation. In McGregor's mind, the man Max Holloway is preparing to face isn't simply a former champion attempting another comeback. He's facing a reinvented fighter, a man who has already survived the darkest periods of his own life, a man who has confronted the destructive habits that once threatened to consume everything he built, and a man who now believes his greatest victory happened before the cage door ever closed. He conquered himself. That is the foundation behind McGregor's warning, because if the transformation is genuine, if the discipline is real, and if the years away have allowed his body and mind to rebuild rather than deteriorate, then Holloway may not be fighting the version of Conor McGregor everyone expects, and even Michael Bisping is forced to acknowledge that possibility. Despite leaning toward Holloway in many areas of the matchup, Bisping refuses to completely dismiss McGregor. He knows better, because whatever people think about Conor outside the octagon, there is one reality that cannot be erased. At his best, McGregor was devastating. The timing, the precision, the distance management, the ability to read reactions almost instantly. And above everything else, the left hand. Bisping understands that if McGregor's motivation is genuine and the preparation behind closed doors matches the intensity of his public statements, then this return could become far more dangerous than many critics anticipate. He doesn't necessarily view McGregor's recent viral outburst toward Holloway as random emotion. Instead, he sees calculation, promotion, focus, perhaps even evidence that the Notorious is mentally entering the same territory he occupied before some of the biggest fights of his career. The talking becomes sharper, the predictions become more specific, the opponent becomes personal, and everything begins narrowing toward one objective: fight night. From Bisping's perspective, that matters because McGregor doesn't need to dominate for 25 minutes to become dangerous. He may only need one opening, one mistake, one moment where Holloway enters, range carelessly. Because early in the fight, when McGregor is fresh, when the reactions are sharp, and when the left hand still carries maximum speed, he remains capable of changing everything in seconds. That is the nightmare scenario for Holloway, but Chael Sonnen sees the situation very differently. Sonnen rejects one of the central pillars of McGregor's psychological campaign, the supposed welterweight advantage. Conor has repeatedly emphasized the physics of fighting at a heavier weight: more mass, more strength, more power, greater durability. And because McGregor has already competed at 170 pounds, he presents himself as though he's welcoming Holloway into unfamiliar territory. But Sonnen isn't convinced. In his view, simply having previous fights at welterweight doesn't automatically create a meaningful physical advantage. The number on the scale can become psychological smoke and mirrors, a promotional weapon, something designed to make Holloway believe he's entering McGregor's world before the fight even begins. And Sonnen's argument forces an uncomfortable question. What if the physical gap barely exists? Holloway is not a small man. His frame has always been large. His ability to carry additional weight has already been tested. And without the burden of a brutal cut, Max may enter the cage stronger, healthier, and more durable than ever. If that's true, then one of McGregor's biggest psychological weapons disappears, because suddenly, Holloway isn't the smaller fighter walking into enemy territory. He's simply another elite athlete competing at a weight where both men can perform without destroying themselves before the opening bell. But there is another side to this story. McGregor appears to have made a deliberate decision to reshape his entire body. Not temporarily, not simply for one fight, but as a part of a larger transformation, a true welterweight identity. The frame is thicker, the muscle mass is more pronounced, the body looks fundamentally different from the featherweight version that once terrorized the division. And for the first time in his career, the possibility has emerged that McGregor may genuinely need to manage his weight downward toward the 170-pound limit, rather than simply eating his way up into the division. That distinction matters, because if McGregor has truly built himself into a functional welterweight, then this isn't merely a former lightweight carrying extra mass. It's a fighter attempting to redesign his entire physical identity around a new division, and perhaps a much larger ambition. McGregor has never hidden his obsession with history. First simultaneous two-division champion, record-breaking events, global superstardom, moments that changed the business of combat sports forever. But one achievement remains beyond even his legendary resume: a third UFC World Championship, something unprecedented, something capable of placing the final chapter of his career into territory nobody expected, after the devastating leg injury and years of inactivity. Seen through that lens, the warning toward Holloway becomes far more serious. McGregor isn't simply bringing ego into the cage. He's potentially bringing a fully committed welterweight body designed to produce a level of physical force Holloway has never experienced from him before. And if that transformation is functional, if the speed remains, if the timing remains, if the additional mass hasn't destroyed the movement, then Holloway may be walking directly into the most dangerous version of the matchup imaginable. But Ray Longo sees something much darker beneath the surface, because training footage can lie. A fighter can look explosive for 30 seconds, sharp on the pads, powerful during controlled combinations, fast during carefully selected clips. But none of that recreates the reality of a 5-round fight. And according to Longo, the polished surface may be hiding a much deeper problem. 5 years. 5 years away from elite competition. 5 years of physical changes, lifestyle changes, injuries, recovery, and the kind of heavy living critics have repeatedly questioned throughout McGregor's absence. The human body is resilient, but it keeps records. Every year matters. Every injury matters. Every period of inactivity matters. And once age collides with high-level competition, the consequences can arrive suddenly. That is Longo's warning. McGregor may absolutely possess the raw power advantage early. He may look dangerous. He may even look spectacular. But against Max Holloway, the clock never stops. Holloway doesn't simply fight opponents. He forces them to maintain concentration while exhausted. He weaponizes pace, volume, movement, combinations, and the psychological pressure of knowing that even after landing your best shots, he's still standing in front of you. For McGregor, that creates a terrifying equation. Every minute that passes potentially benefits Max. Every failed finishing attempt costs energy. Every extended combination forces the larger body to work harder. Every scramble adds another tax. Every moment Holloway survives becomes evidence that the early storm wasn't enough. Against most fighters, fatigue is a weakness. Against Holloway, it can become a death sentence, because Max doesn't wait for opponents to slow down. He accelerates when they do. And that's why Longo sees McGregor fighting more than a man on July 11th. He's fighting time. Still, Kenny Florian believes the tactical picture may favor Conor far more than critics realize. A historic layoff usually creates one assumption: the sport moves on, timing disappears, reactions fade, new generations evolve, and the returning veteran discovers that the game he once mastered no longer exists. But Florian sees potential warning signs pointing in the opposite direction: maturity, self-awareness, a more honest assessment of previous mistakes, and perhaps a matchup arriving at exactly the right moment, at exactly the right weight. For Florian, 170 pounds could become the perfect battlefield. No brutal lightweight cut, no featherweight starvation, no need to strip the body down before asking it to survive a 5-round war. Instead, McGregor enters with his natural frame, his power, his physicality, and potentially a slight strength advantage over Holloway. If Florian is right, then the most terrifying part of Conor's warning may also be the part everyone is ignoring. Critics believe Holloway is being handed an aging relic, a former superstar, a damaged name, a fighter returning too late. But what if they're wrong? What if the UFC has accidentally created the perfect ambush? A physically stronger McGregor at a comfortable weight, against an opponent he has already beaten, with the entire world expecting him to fail. That is the scenario Conor appears to believe in, but Dustin Poirier offers the harshest reality check of them all, and his opinion carries a different kind of weight. Because Poirier doesn't need to imagine what it feels like to fight McGregor. He knows. He has experienced the speed, the timing, the left hand, the pressure, and the danger of the early rounds. Poirier understands exactly how lethal a prime version of Conor McGregor can be, and even he is picking Holloway. The reason isn't complicated. The question isn't whether vintage McGregor could beat Max. He absolutely could. The question is whether vintage McGregor still exists. A catastrophic leg break changes everything: movement, balance, confidence, explosiveness, the willingness to plant hard on a repaired limb, the ability to enter an exit range without hesitation, and perhaps most critically, timing. McGregor's entire style was built around fractions of a second. He didn't simply hit harder than everyone else. He arrived first. He read movement, manipulated reactions, and punished mistakes before opponents understood they had made them. If the injury removed even a small percentage of that ability, the entire system changes. And Poirier appears to believe Holloway is the man capable of exposing that reality. Because while McGregor has spent years rebuilding, Max has spent those same years fighting, learning, adapting, surviving, and evolving against the highest level of competition available. That may be the final conflict at the center of this entire matchup. McGregor believes absence preserved him. Holloway's supporters believe activity sharpened Max. McGregor believes the injury transformed him. His critics believe it permanently damaged him. McGregor believes the heavier body is a weapon. Others believe it could become an anchor. McGregor believes he has conquered his demons. The skeptics believe those demons have already taken too much. And when July 11th arrives, none of the theories will matter anymore. Not the training clips, not the predictions, not the interviews, not the psychological warfare, not the warnings. For weeks, Conor McGregor has attempted to enter Max Holloway's mind. He's treated him like a younger fighter who still needs to be reminded of their history. He's dismissed the threat, questioned the physicality, promised superiority, and warned the world that the man returning to the cage is not the same man who disappeared from it. According to Conor, he's upgraded, rebuilt, reinvented, and more dangerous than ever. But the stakes behind those words are enormous, because if McGregor is right, if the discipline is real, if the power carries, if the timing survives, and if the body holds together, then July 11th could produce one of the most astonishing comeback stories combat sports has ever witnessed. A former two-division champion returning after years away, after a catastrophic injury, against one of the toughest fighters in UFC history, and proving that the world buried him too early. But if Holloway sees through the mind games, if he survives the opening storm, if he forces McGregor backward, if the pace begins rising, and if those old questions about cardio, durability, inactivity, and damage return, then the story changes completely, because McGregor's warnings could become something else. Not the beginning of a historic comeback, but the final echo of an era that already ended. That is what makes this fight so dangerous for both men. Holloway is fighting to avenge a loss that has followed him for more than a decade. McGregor is fighting to prove that his legend still belongs in the present. One man wants revenge, the other wants resurrection. And when the cage door finally closes, the talking stops, the predictions disappear, the psychological warfare ends, and all that remains is violence. So, who do you believe? Is Conor McGregor truly returning as a rebuilt, physically transformed, fully focused version of the Notorious? Or will Max Holloway survive the early danger, break him with pressure, and prove that the sport has finally moved beyond its biggest superstar? Drop your prediction in the comments below. And if you want more UFC breakdowns, fighter reactions, training updates, and everything surrounding the biggest fights in MMA, make sure you subscribe, because when McGregor and Holloway finally step into that cage, chaos is guaranteed.